While top performers build, operate, and sell high-growth, high-performance companies, low performers cannot build properly and waste a ton of resources trying to get the businesses off the ground. In this video, I'm going to give you a clear framework you can use to transform yourself and your business into high-performance machines, able to achieve the seemingly impossible very fast. Listen carefully, because it really pays to invest 5 minutes of your time in learning what others never fully internalize in a lifetime. I'm going to give you 5 principles and one extra key thing, which in my view is what really matters. Let's get to it. Hey, I'm Castillo, founder of Selfmastered. We're a high-performance training company that helps entrepreneurs scale their businesses by solving their silent bottleneck, their own performance. We transform the unproductive, overwhelmed, and focused entrepreneurs into laser-focused business athletes that can achieve in one day what they previously achieved in 1 week. How do others achieve in a couple of years what others cannot even do in a lifetime? What is the secret sauce? What's the black magic that some people seem to display? If you take out all the money they may have when they start, all those connections, going to the right schools, all that stuff, if you take all of that out of the equation, you still see huge differences in performance that account for huge differences in results. So what's going on here? Well, what's going on is that those that actually create success, those that get to the goals fast, those that perform at elite level, follow a very simple framework. There's a playbook. Success leaves clues. So if you do what I'm going to say in this video, I can promise fast results. Now, 5 principles. Principle number 1, you guessed it, focus. Focus is about doing what matters and only doing what matters. It's about subtraction. It's about doing less things that are not capital for your endeavors. The problem with focus is that everybody wants it, but not many people get it. And why is that? Because it requires a healthy degree of awareness, a healthy degree of understanding of what are the most important things, and therefore how to best make sure that you only focus on them. Without awareness, it is very hard to understand what should be prioritized. But when you finally identify what needs to be done and just prioritize that, you get clarity. Everything becomes more clear. And that thing becomes a prioritization mechanism that you can use in everything in your life. So step number 1 is focus, understanding what is it that you should be working on, and make sure you do not work on anything else. Principle number 2 is speed. You need to cultivate an understanding of your own mortality, because your own mortality, as Steve Jobs said, provide a sense of urgency, and that sense of urgency brings speed. Working on the right thing very fast so that you can move fast and break things, as Zuckerberg said. Because when you do that, you start getting and generating positive momentum that breeds good expectancy. Good things start happening to those that do things very fast and keep doing things very fast. The problem is that you need to have that sense of urgency. You need to cultivate that idea that your time on this earth is finite. And the sooner you start, the better results you'll get. If you do this right, what you get at the other side is momentum, that force that seems to be propelling you forward. Right? Principle number 2, speed. Principle number 3 is intensity. And this is crucial because most entrepreneurs work long hours, but not many of them work on the right things or with the right intensity. Intensity is only devoting your attention to the task at hand and to nothing else. Because when you do this, when you summon your cognitive capital to the thing that needs to be done at that moment, magical things start happening. The quality of your work goes up. The quantity of things you need to do goes down because there are less defects and less problems. You work less hours, and overall, you get better results in a shorter time frame, which is what we all want. But in order to do this, you need to first commit to that thing. You need to do what the Romans called age quod agis, do what you are doing. That's what age quod agis means. And you need to fully embrace that principle. Only do what needs to be done in the moment. Don't check your phone, don't check social media, don't bullshit yourself about things that are not relevant at the moment. I can assure you that if you start time batching your task, your productivity will skyrocket. rocket. So principle number 3, intensity. Principle number 4 is about control. And I love this one because I'm an architect, right? I first started being an architect, more the artistic type. I was an amateur photographer at some point. I was also a journalist at some point in my life. So I come from the artistic world. But over time, I became a finance guy, right? And now I'm an entrepreneur. So I have transitioned from being this creative type to this more balanced type of using data to base my decisions on. And control is all about data and feedback. It's about understanding that every effort that you put out into the universe needs to be properly mapped out. You need to understand what it is that you were trying to accomplish and make sure that you know whether that thing had a positive effect, it was a success or not. If you post on social media, if you have a conversation, if you have a one-on-one meeting, if you launch a marketing campaign, if you do all of those things, you need to understand if things went well and how well they went, and more importantly, why they went that way. What is the underlying mechanics so you can replicate the best results. It's all about triggering your evolutionary mechanism that allows you to identify patterns. Your ability to identify patterns is what fosters a sense of control. And a sense of control is absolutely crucial in entrepreneurship because entrepreneurship is like jumping off a cliff and trying to build an airplane on the way down before you crash. But it's very hard not to crash. Only 50% of businesses survive over year 5. My goal with this idea of control is that it is much better to do just one thing, but do it to the best of your ability, understanding what's the data that can allow you to, through feedback, become better at that thing than trying to do too many things and just being oblivious about its performance. And then principle number 5, fun. And this is underrated because of course you need to push yourself. Of course you need to surmount the resistance. Of course you need to do what you don't want to do now in order to reap the rewards later. We all understand the concept of delayed gratification, but you cannot argue against the heart. You cannot rationalize a feeling. And if you do not like what you do, if you do not have fun with what you do, you're missing out on a core component of life's meaning. Because if you want to access flow, which is an altered state of consciousness that happens when you essentially work on something you love and you push through the resistance, if you do not access flow, if you do not sustain your efforts for long enough, you will not see results. And you know that you cannot win against someone who's relentless at competing against you. And even those extreme endurance athletes and 120-hour entrepreneurs love what they do. They love that pain, they love that friction, they love that idea of themselves as hardworking individuals. So a secret from high performance is that everybody is doing what it loves at any given moment. Even those that seem to be pushing way past the fun zone, they are still, in a weak sense, having fun. So you need to seek to maximize the fun you have at work. You need to focus on what you're good at and really become super good through positive reinforcement that comes from having fun. And what can you do with those things that you're not inherently good at, but you still need to do? How can you motivate yourself? Well, you can still apply this principle. You can still make it fun. How? Let's say that you want to create content and you don't like to create content, but you have to, and you're the prototypical scientific type, more of numbers and data than actual creativity. Well, there's probably a way of creating the scripts and devising your environment in which you record in a way that it seems scientific to you. You can use some sort of templates and stuff that helps you create content in a much easier way so that it eventually becomes fun. And the opposite way, let's say that you are an artist, very highly creative, but you still need to do the books at the end of the year. Well, you can most probably teach yourself accounting in a way that it's fun so that those numbers on the income statement, on the bank statement, tell a story, and you can create a story, some sort of creativity around those numbers. There's always a way of making what you care about fun, and you should absolutely think of this as one of the key components of peak performance. But there's a sixth thing. What is it? This is, let me tell you first that you need to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss out on any of the juicy videos that we release every week. And also, you help other people find this content, apply what we teach, and hopefully have the results they seek. So please like it and share it. Thanks. So the sixth thing is, to me, arguably the most important. It is courage. Because being courageous being brave against the unknown and the uncertain is the key defining factors of all entrepreneurs that actually make it. Elon Musk said that entrepreneurship is like staring to the abyss while chewing glass. And even if that is a very extreme phrase, I kind of agree, because there's always pain involved and resistance involved in building anything. See, operating at peak performance, specifically in business, is a never-ending process of pushing yourself against what Sigmund Freud called the death wish. That part of yourself that doesn't want to be disturbed. That part of you that just wants to remain in comfort. That destructive force arises every time that we push ourselves toward discomfort. It's a very well-known psychological dimension we all have. It's an homeostatic impulse of the body trying to preserve you. No growth happens inside your comfort zone, and in fact, I would argue that it is precisely where it sucks the most, where the most growth is waiting. So the ability to push yourself towards that pain, towards that uncertainty, towards that lack of clarity, and getting to the other side is fundamentally about courage and a bunch of other psychological qualities, but they all eventually boil down to courage. Cultivating courage, that character trait, is key to win. In fact, in business, it's not the highest IQ who wins or the better connected. Oftentimes, it's just the most persistent. And persistence is rooted in having the courage to show up every day and pick yourself up every time you are down. So these are the 5+1 principles of peak performance. One is focus. You need to know exactly what it is that you should be doing and just don't do anything else. 2, speed. Be very quick. Understand that you are on borrowed time on earth. Cultivate urgency and work fast. 3, intensity. Only work on what you're working. Do what you're doing and don't get distracted. 4, control. Understand cause and effect. Create the systems that provide feedback so you can become better at the task at hand, and over time, reduce the time you employ. And 5, have fun. Have fun, because without fun, you're not going to sustain that career in the long term. And finally, 6, have courage. Develop bravery. Test yourself in and out of your workday to become the person that you know inside that you have the possibility of becoming. This is peak performance. This is how people become their best selves in a short amount of time. This is the same principles that power our training company that takes people from 0 to revenue in 3 months, or from very low revenue to 10x their revenue in 3 months. It is not magic. It is just knowing what needs to be done in order to get the results we seek. I hope this was useful. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, and see you in the next video.